So welcome your excellencies, honorable guests, and the media. My name is Nina Aukord. I'm a head of communications at the Nordic Council. And this press meeting is in connection with the high-level summit for Baltic Assembly and Nordic Council. These organizations have very close collaboration and meet every year. This year, due to the Russian invasion to Ukraine, we have invited representatives from Ukrainian Parliament and media, as well as Russian and Belarus opposition, to join the summit. We have got valuable first-hand information about the situation in Ukraine and the work of Russian and Belarus opposition, and discussed how the Nordic countries and Baltic countries could support the positive long-term development of the region. So now we will hear short statements from the presidents of the Nordic Council and Baltic Assembly, as well as the guests. And we will film these statements for the purpose of communications of the summit. So that for your information. I will present by name every speaker between each statement. And after all statements, then it's open for questions from the media. So now I think we go ahead. So Erkki Tuomioja, President of Nordic Council, please.
Thank you. On behalf of the Nordic Council, I want to thank all the participants of the meeting, joint meeting of the Baltic Assembly and Nordic Council, which we have arranged together. And I also obviously want to thank our Icelandic host as well, but particularly our guests from Belarus, Ukraine, and the Russian opposition. Our discussions have been, I think I'm not the only one who would come to the conclusion that of the many meetings that we have had on the situation in these countries, this has been the most informative, thought-provoking meeting that we have had, and we will go home with a lot of new ideas and a passion to stand united in our commitment to common values of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law, and to find practical, pragmatic ways how we can do this. We have had two themes. First one is the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The interventions have been very eye-opening and moving. We need to support Ukraine in their fight in all ways possible. And we must also look to the future and the reconstruction of Ukraine. When that time comes, we must look at what the Nordic and Baltic countries together can contribute to this work. And the second theme today was how we can support the Russian and Belarusian democratic opposition forces. And to achieve a just and lasting peace, we need to support the establishment of genuine democracy in these countries. And our support to civil society, independent media, and democratic forces is of crucial importance to achieve this. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Jānis Bučan, the President of Baltic Assembly, please.
Hello, everybody. Today, during the summit of Baltic Assembly and Nordic Council, we discussed a lot of questions, and those issues are very important currently, to my understanding. Since in 2010, European Union established Eastern Partnership Program, the duty and the goal of Baltic Assembly was to be some kind of bridge between Western democracies, Western countries, and Eastern Partnership countries. And this seminar, today's meeting, summit, was some part of building this bridge in this new, very complicated for Europe situation. Today we heard many ways how we can support Ukraine, and that will help to guide us in the future as well. We have to help Ukraine survive the coming winter. by providing weapons, warm uniforms for soldiers, cars, and other kinds of support. We also have time to continue to provide military, financial, and humanitarian help. In regards to Belarus and Russia, our support must be active towards democratic forces. They are risking their lives to achieve democratic changes to their people because they see that democracy means better and safer lives as well as prosperity for the whole society. In general, we have to fight Russian propaganda and find new ways how to get fact-based information to people in Russia. It's very important currently. We parliamentarians have to talk with our colleagues in our countries and also in other countries to ensure more help to Ukraine to stop war in Europe once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have Lesia Vasilienko, Member of Parliament, Ukraine, please.
Thank you. And continuing from the previous speaker, Europe needs to do all it can to make sure this war ends quickly. This war has been going on long enough. We are in the 194th day of the escalation of the Russian aggression, which has lasted over 8 years, since February 2014. And this is part of a struggle that Ukraine has been leading for centuries to break free from Russia and from its imperialistic aims. What Ukraine is doing right now is exactly that, fighting against the comeback of empires with all the evils that they bring with them. Russia today is employing tactics using food as a weapon of war, using energy as a weapon of war, rape as a weapon of war. They do not stop even at nuclear terrorism. Just now, the Zaporizhia power plant, nuclear power plant, which is the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, has been basically switched off with no data on radiation coming into Ukrainian nuclear authorities. It's a technical glitch, what Russians say, but the truth is that it has been this way because of the shootings that are happening at that power station. The same has been done with the hydropower station in Kakhovka, in the Kherson region. That power station has been switched off now as well, meaning that the people in Zaporizhia and in Kherson are cut from electricity. This is an attack on the civilian population, and this is just another example of the crimes against civilians, of the war crimes, of the crimes against humanity that Russia is continuously committing. And they will continue committing them more and more if they are not stopped. This war is costing everybody a lot. This winter will be hard. Prices will go up on petrol, on food, in Europe and in Ukraine. Lives will be lost. 5,000 Ukrainians are dead already, 7,000 are wounded. The numbers are not exact. They might be even more because we are not counting the 20,000 plus mass graves which are in Mariupol and in other cities that are under Russian occupation. 12 million Ukrainians have been forced to leave their homes. 7 million are internally displaced. 5 million have been forced to flee Ukraine because of the war. Schools, only 40% of the schools have returned to normal because only 40% of schools in Ukraine have bomb shelters where children can hide. 3,000 schools, more than 3,000 schools have been destroyed, 400 beyond repair. This is the reality that we Ukrainians face every day. And we will continue facing it until the very last Russian soldier leaves Ukrainian soil, because we are fighting to bring back meaning to the words of democracy, human rights, and freedom. And we are fighting also an existential war to have the right to exist as a nation and to exist as a people, and to make sure that this is the very last war, that the words never again really mean never again. And only in common, united efforts with the help of our partners who are strengthening our military day to day and weakening Russia with sanctions day to day, can we achieve this victory for democracy in the world.
Thank you. And then from Belarus, we have Franak Viecharka, Chief Advisor, Office of Svetlana Tihanovskaya. Please.
Good afternoon. In Belarus, we are fighting not only against dictatorial regime, but also against imperialist Putin's Russia, which is using our territory to bomb Ukraine almost every day since February 2022. We understand very well that without free Ukraine, there will not be free Belarus. And we also understand that without free Belarus, there will not be safe Ukraine. Therefore, many Belarusians joined Belarus battalions within the Ukrainian army to fight Russian aggressors. Therefore, we mobilized all our NGOs, funds of support to help Ukrainian people. Our volunteers work on the Ukrainian front lines. With the Office of Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, we provided mobile hospital to help wounded Ukrainian soldiers and those who are suffering from Russian bombs. We are grateful to Nordic Council and Baltic Assembly for consistent support since 2020 for having this discussion today. We hope it's the beginning of long-term cooperation. We hope that Belarus and hopefully Ukraine, our nations will be included in further conversations, discussions, because historically we belong to Nordic Baltic region. We also excited about Icelandic presidency in Council of Europe. It's very important to speak about Ukraine. It's very important to speak about Belarus and make sure that our countries are free, independent, sovereign, and aggressors are stopped. Thank you.
Thank you. And then from the same office, a representative for legislative reform and parliamentary cooperation, Anatoly Lebedko. Please.
Чем похожи Лукашенко и Путин? Они оба больны на власть.
What are the similarities between Lukashenko and Putin? They are both sick for power.
Лукашенко и Путин – это идеологические сиамские близнецы, для которых Сталин – это пример для подражания.
Lukashenko and Putin are ideological Siamese twins for whom Stalin is an example to live by.
У них не только похожее настоящее, но и одинаковое будущее. Их ждет трибунал либо в Гааге, либо в Нюрнберге.
They don't only have the similar present, they have the similar future. They are both going towards a tribunal, either in Hague or in Nuremberg.
Что могут сделать депутаты стран, северных стран и Балтики?
What can the parliamentarians of the Nordic countries and of the Baltic do?
Вы можете помочь удерживать Беларусь в международной повестке дня через создание депутатских групп друзей Беларуси.
You can help Belarus remain on the agenda of the media and the focus by helping creating the groups of friends of Belarus within your parliaments.
Вы можете взять политический патронаж шефства над тысячами белорусских политзаключенных.
You can become patrons for the thousands of political prisoners in Belarus.
Вы можете взять к себе на стажировку молодых белорусов, чтобы они видели, что такое настоящий парламент.
You can help create internships for young Belarusians so that they could see how true parliaments work.
Вы можете принять резолюции в поддержку европейской перспективы для новой Беларуси.
You can create resolutions to support the new perspective of European Belarus.
Слава Украине, живе Беларусь и свободу России.
Glory to Ukraine, live Belarus and freedom to Russia.
Thank you. And Evgenia Karamucha, Free Russian Foundation, please.
I want to thank everyone who hosted me here today. This was an incredibly important discussion, and it was so important for me to be here because I'm not here because I came here to speak on behalf of my husband, who would usually be found on such platforms. Not today, though, because today he's in a Russian jail for speaking out against the war in Ukraine and for denouncing the atrocities committed by the Russian army on the territory of the sovereign state of Ukraine. So I came here to speak on his behalf and on behalf of Russian civil society that continues opposing the regime despite all odds and despite grave risks to their freedom and lives. The horrible truth about this war is that it was not unexpected, but came as a result of over 2 decades of impunity that Vladimir Putin has enjoyed while oppressing his own people and carrying out his other military campaigns. By invading Georgia in 2008, by annexing Crimea in 2014, and by bombing Syria. Emboldened by continuous impunity, Vladimir Putin ended up believing that he could get away with pretty much anything and launched a full-blown war of aggression against our closest neighbor, killing thousands and displacing millions. This war of aggression goes hand in hand with massive-scale repressions in Russia. According to human rights organizations, over 16,400 people have been detained in Russia since February 24th of this year. There have been over 4,000 administrative cases opened and over 200 criminal ones against those who oppose the war in Ukraine. One of those people is my husband, Vladimir Karamurza, who survived 2 poisonings by a team of FSB operatives in retaliation for his tireless advocacy for the introduction of targeted personal sanctions against criminals in the Putin regime. He refused to be intimidated, and being a true patriot, he refused to be banned from his own country. So he went back. He told our kids that he needed to be there to show Russians that they should not be afraid to stand up for what they believe in and to fight the monstrosity that is the Putin regime. So this is why I'm standing here today. My husband is facing up to 14 years in prison now, but I will continue the fight on his behalf, and I will continue the fight on behalf of all those Russians brave enough to stand up and to fight. And I understand that only by combining our efforts, by making sure that Ukraine wins this war on Ukraine's terms, by making sure that those responsible for gross human rights violations, for war crimes, and for launching the war of aggression against Ukraine, only by bringing all those people to justice can we turn the page and can we hope for a future for Russia. So we are asking the international community, the global democratic community, to show solidarity and support for that part of the Russian civil society that refuses to give up and refuses to be intimidated despite grave risks to their lives. And I will continue my fight, and I hope that you will, I see that you've already joined it, because there was so much understanding of the situation today in this very fruitful discussion that I am absolutely sure that together we will turn this page. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrei Bastunets, Chairman of the Belarusian Association of Journalists.
Сегодня мы довольно много говорили о ситуации с свободой слова и о пропаганде.
Today we talked quite a lot about the situation with the freedom of speech and propaganda.
Репрессии, которые начались в Беларуси в 2020 году, конечно, не могли обойти стороной медиасферу.
The oppression that started in 2020 in Belarus, of course, couldn't avoid the media.
Прямо сейчас за решеткой находится 27 журналистов, большинство из которых я знаю лично.
Right now, more than 27 journalists are behind bars, and I know personally most of them.
Многие белорусские медиа объявлены экстремистскими.
A lot of Belarusian media outlets have been declared extremist.
Людей штрафуют и арестовывают за подписку на них или за комментарии в социальных сетях.
People are fined and detained for subscribing to such sources in the social networks.
Сотни журналистов вынуждены были покинуть Беларусь, чтобы избежать уголовного преследования и продолжать работать.
Hundreds of journalists were forced to flee Belarus in order to avoid legal prosecution and to be able to continue working.
Те, кто остался в стране, живут в страшном напряжении, в постоянном ожидании ареста или обыска.
Those who are left behind are living in a constant tension, expecting an imminent arrest or search.
Александр Лукашенко объявил демократический сектор, независимые медиа, опухолью, которую надо устранить.
Alexander Lukashenko has declared the independent media a tumor that has to be destroyed.
За спиной Лукашенко маячит тень Путина.
And behind the back of Lukashenko, there is a shadow of Putin.
Вытеснение независимых СМИ из страны, из информационного пространства приведет к тому, что это место займет прокремлевская пропаганда.
If the independent media is pushed out of the country, it will lead to the Kremlin propaganda taking its place.
Пока мы с ней успешно справляемся, но это требует все больше усилий.
So far, we have been successful in countering this propaganda, but this has been taking a lot of efforts from us.
Нам и журналистам, и политикам, и активистам гражданского общества необходима солидарность и поддержка, которую мы, в свою очередь, тоже готовы оказывать представителям Украины, украинскому народу.
We journalists, politicians, human rights activists need solidarity and support, and we are ready to provide the same to those in Ukraine.
И еще для нас очень важно оставаться в информационном пространстве, не выпадать из него, чтобы Республика Беларусь оставалась в фокусе внимания, и поэтому сегодняшняя встреча настолько важна для нас.
And also it is very important for us to stay in the information space so that the Republic of Belarus remains in the focus. This is why today's meeting was extremely important for us today.
Thank you. And then from Ukraine, we have Elina Alemkin, producer in Media in Progress.
Hello. Again, like my colleagues have said, we're incredibly grateful for the international support we've seen and the gathering of discussions and conferences like this one, because keeping Ukraine in the conversation and in the media 6 months after the war, 8 months after the war, 9 months after the war will save lives. As focus and attention fades away from Ukraine, Russia takes advantage of this fact and plays it like a strategic game. I hope that, and I've seen that these discussions have been informing each other, inspiring each other, and these leaders and change makers will continue to inspire others to continue to help Ukraine. And we're in this for the long run, not only Ukraine's future, which has changed, but Europe's and the wider world as well. So we'd like the war to end as soon as possible. We would also understand that we will wait until we win on our own terms with a completely free Ukraine and Crimea. So as we continue this fight, we hope you stay with us and give us your helping hand until Victory Day. Thank you.
Thank you.